The following program contains naughty bits.
His daughter.
Jane! Me, Jane!
Jane!
That's right, very good!
Jane! Jane!
Yes! My name is Jane!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. No, I'm not trans. I haven't discovered a new side of my personality or sexuality that I have to make a complete video on, but instead, I will just come out with this phrase: man versus machine and machine won. Yes, I am talking about YouTube, of course. YouTube has decided for many, many months now, maybe even a year or two, to shadow ban my channel. And basically what that means is, even if I tippy-toe around certain subjects like Dermot Mulrooney from Bud Light or anything else, or they'll make sure they suppress that as much as they can so the views don't get out there. People aren't aware that my videos are there to hopefully entertain. So it's with a heavy heart, folks, that I have to say that you might not be seeing me much on this channel any longer. In fact, I'm doing a bit of a purge on my channel right now just to get rid of videos that YouTube is probably deemed insensitive, hate-filled, the usual garbage. You know already. I mean, June by far is the worst month of any given year. June, when you can celebrate being a certain sexuality for a whole month, when basically been that your whole life. Just like when it's Black History Month, you got to celebrate a month for being black, when again, as Morgan Freeman stated, why do we have a month dedicated to being black when you've been that your whole life? I mean, did the Chinese celebrate a month of being Chinese, or people from South Korea, or Indian people as well? Are they doing that? Of course not, because you don't need to. You just get on with life, yada, yada, yada. But here we are, folks, because, well, what can I say? I make these videos. I just get diminishing returns in terms of views and likes and everything else. And by the way, you lovely people out there, you know, you're the ones who have put up with me. You've been entertained, hopefully, by my videos. And certainly some of you out there who I would call a super fan or two have bought me this gorgeous Joe Rogan microphone right here, the Shure SM7B, a brand new gaming PC. And if you want to have an idea of who that super fan is, well, here they are. Yes, it's great being me sometimes. And I do appreciate the people as well that have contacted other big time YouTubers to try and get me as a guest on one of their podcasts, one of their live streams. But, you know, those folks are busy. Why would they have time for a nobody like me? You know, I'm just a nobody on YouTube who likes to rant and rave about the hysterical media going forward. And you know what? You know, I'm doing something else on YouTube at the moment. I'm not even going to let you guys know what it is because it's something that you probably won't be interested in, to be honest. But you know what? I think for the last time, folks, for the time being, because like Sean Connery, never say never, Moneypenny. I could be back. I could be back next month, next year, who knows? But by the time you've seen this video again, if I haven't said it at the beginning, I'm going to say it again now. I've purged quite a few of my videos because, again, if they're what holding me back, and again, I know what some of you are going to say, Jason, why don't you just stay true to yourself and leave those videos on? Well, you know, maybe over time that might not age very well. And look, I haven't been kidnapped by the woke hive mind. I've got a steady supply of Charlton Heston pills to keep me going until I'm dead and gone from this earth. So don't worry, folks. I haven't been caught up in that crazy leftist side of the woke politics agenda. In fact, I'm proud to say actually that I'm the Amiga man. I'm one of the last Amiga men left on this earth, which is great. Somebody who is not an Amiga man, although they like to think that they are, is none other than Ellen Page. I am not going to call him by their new name because, first of all, Ellen hasn't actually been physically reassigned as somebody else. It's still Ellen Page as far as I'm concerned. But she's got a new book coming out soon. Maybe by the time you've seen this video, the book's probably been released already. But she's been going on this very strange tirade attacking Hollywood stars that have done wrong to her. In the latest one that they've, this one is an absolute doozy. Inception star Ellen Page says she did not understand the role she found herself in. Now, it's kind of ironic I'm talking about Inception because a few weeks ago, I took my limited edition copy to CEX to be sold off. Little did I know this story will be popping up in this week. It's pretty funny, actually. And the reason why she found herself in a strange film, in a role that she didn't understand, despite the fact when I watched her in that film, she seems to have a good grasp of what's going on. And I mean, 2010 is when Inception came out. That's when Tom Hardy just came off making Warrior, and he's this big, beefy beefcake in the movie called Ames. Really great character. But she had anxiety because she felt out of place amongst mostly cis men. Syrian Salting, Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, Christopher Nolan, of all people. I mean, bitch, you got to star in a Christopher Nolan movie. And many, many years later, 13 years later, you're moaning and groaning that I was surrounded by toxic white men or men of sexuality, if that's even such a word. So, Ellen Page, good luck with the clickbaiting articles that websites like I think the San Francisco Gazette or the SF Gazette, whatever they're called, who cares, snap you up because they're desperate for clicks. So, oh boy, the less said about this woman, the better. And of course, Transformers Rise of the Beasts arrived on cinemas this week. Apparently, it's absolute cock. I will not going to be watching it. I don't even know if the film contains pronouns because you don't remember there was that whole thing in the Earth Spark, that new cartoon from the Transformers where RC, people forget that RC was the first female Autobot in the original Transformers film from 1986. But now the Transformers are walking around with pronouns, which is like, oh, God almighty, they're gender binary. There's a strong distinction between the male and female bots. Holy crap. But anyway, let's talk about this, which is the Expendables. The Expendables 4 trailer dropped this week to not much fanfare, actually. And I'm not going to play the trailer in full, just bits and pieces, because we know what Warner Brothers, or I'm not even sure this is a Lionsgate film. I'm pretty sure it's WB. But so the new blood in question, again, I don't know why they've decided to make a fourth Expendables movie, because no one's really clamoring for it. I think the first two films are really good. I think the first movie suffers from very bad editing. There's some good choreography, but with that mind being scrambled from the poor green grass jumping camera, the jumping edits are so horrible. It took Simon West to do the best film in the entire franchise because, again, you had Chuck Norris, you had Jean-Claude Van Damme playing Villain or Valaine. He was really good. So I know from this trailer already that we've got... Now, I didn't actually recognize this chick. It's Megan Fox. I quite like Meg Fox. I don't think she's the greatest actress in the planet of the... I'm going to say Planet of the Apes. On this planet called Earth, but she's likable. She's all right. She's a pretty base chick from what I remember, but I can't really take her seriously with the heavy makeup and that thorny little pose against Jason Statham. And, what happened to Charisma Carpenter? Did she just not want to come back and reprise her role? I guess I don't blame her. But for 30 seconds, we've got a lot of Meg and her tits and Jason Statham and his tits, I suppose. Oh, there you go. Gratuitous pose right there. I didn't know that was coming up. And then Stallone's knocking on the door. I mean, Stallone is really pushing 80 by now, isn't he? I mean, that neck is about to cave in. Good grief. Sylvester Stallone, what are you doing? Why are we getting Curtis 50 Cent Jackson in this movie? I think he's quite a likable guy. He's a pretty funny dude off screen. But he's no Laurence Olivier, is he? He definitely isn't. So why have they got him in? I don't know. Dolph Lundgren looking more like a librarian these days than a former action star. Red Scorpion, remember that movie from the 80s?
Dolph Lundgren. Red Scorpion.
Statham bursting into, I presume it's a boat or an oil rig. Stallone doing his usual thing with non-branded sunglasses. I bet they're Ray-Bans, but they've probably had to erase that. I can see a little Ray-Bans logo faded out, I think, somewhere there. It looks pretty lackluster. Statham as Lee Christmas, and that's Iko Uwais from The Raid. I think they've made this guy a real cuck these days because... Is that Iko? No, Iko Uwais is in this film. I mean, that's Randy Couture. Not really doing much in the grand scheme of things. I don't know who the chick is with the tattoos. Yeah, there's your Iko Uwais right here. Now, come on, man. You watch him in The Raid, and you watch him in the earlier films directed by Gareth Hugh Evans. And now he's come down to being a Hollywood muscle for hire. And to be frank, he's not that great in Western movies. They've tempered his movement sets in martial arts films. He's kind of like a puppet hanging on strings now. So Expendables 4, which kind of ends with Lee Christmas having a good shag with Meg. Once again, you showed the knife, which is probably not the right message she should be sending out there. And yeah, come on, Meg. She's got all the makeup on. She's gonna convince her she's gonna be a badass assassin. Nah, I'm probably gonna give Expendables 4 a complete miss. I like what they've done with the A turning it into 4, but then Layer Cake did that in 2004 anyway. So the last video I'm going to end on today, folks, it's a bizarre one. So bizarre that at 5 minutes and 13 seconds. I'm not sure if I'm going to show the entirety of this video, but this is glorious. This is a meltdown from John Campea, who, by the way, he's like Grace Randolph. He's been sucked into the mind hive of the leftist woke ideology out there. I mean, he is from Canada, and Canada is going through a crisis at the moment of being completely and utterly woke with the indoctrination of kids at certain schools. Let kids grow up to be kids, okay? When they get to 16 or above, if they want to learn about, I don't know, their sexuality, then let them do that. But, let kids be kids, please. Funny, Nick Merck said that this week and then suddenly got his image removed from Call of Duty. And thankfully, Call of Duty are getting so much backlash at the moment. Who knows what's going to happen? But right now, John Campea decided to walk outside of his bungalow. It's not a mansion. And to talk about the backlash he got about... the casting of Nico Parker for the live-action remake of How to Train Your Dragon. And look at this already. 5,400 downvotes, only 2,800 votes. And it's ridiculous, some of the comments. One guy says, love this video, John, and thanks for defending Nico Parker. As a black man, I really appreciate it. It's really tiring and upsetting hearing about black women and men getting attacked for doing their jobs. Can't even spell their right in the proper context. It's T-H-I-R, by the way, or T-H-E-I-R. It's been a long day, folks. Being in the park, eating pizza, looking at lovely women in bikinis, but that's another story for another day. But you got to hear this video, folks, because it's absolutely hysterical.
Some information gathering, if you will, just to get some stuff. So I have a little bit of a head start in the morning when I do my stuff. And I was going through some of the comments on some of the videos today. One of the stories that came out today was they got their lead cast for the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. And I thought it was a terrific looking cast. I mean, they got the kid from the Black Phone, which to me is really quite exciting. They went and got the girl, Nico Parker, I think is her name, from Last of Us, who I think is tremendously gifted. And
tremendously gifted, dude. She was absolutely garbage in The Last of Us. I mean, the voice actress who played the original version of Sarah in the Last of Us video game was phenomenal. But do we hear about her? Do we sing her praises? No, we don't. We just talk about a live action version of a video game that nobody wanted to see in the first place. But hey, Disney, hey, DreamWorks, if you want to avoid all of this conversation, don't make live remakes of legacy animation. How about making a new project where you can bring Nico Parker on board and see people actually warm to her just because she's the daughter of Thandie Newton, doesn't mean to say you've got to give her a pass. Where there's natural talent, there is natural talent, and she ain't got it.
Love the episode she was in. I think she's going to be fantastic in this. And I started noticing that there were a bunch of comments on the girl being in it, and people complaining that this How to Train Your Dragon thing is already ruined because they changed Astrid.
I need to pause this video and to tell you one thing, right? Just look at the eyes of John Campier. It's like he's a member of a cult. BLM is a cult. LGBTQIA is a cult, right? They're all cults. They're all communities of cults. I wish I could replace cults with another word. That's very Anglo-Saxon and very sweary, but I'll get pulled off the platform. But you get my drift, right? See you next Tuesdays. That's what I'm going to say, right? That's all they are. So John Campier, Grace Randolph, even though he hates her guts, they walk around with these starey eyes because they've been swallowing those pills that are making them melt down this way. It's glorious.
Because they changed Astrid. And because they changed Astrid, that means this thing was a complete disaster. It's
going to be a complete disaster, John. Have my word on it. Just like you thought The Little Mermaid, the live-action remake, was going to make $1 billion, and guess what? It's an absolute failure.
Ruined. Destined to fail because they changed Astrid. I thought it was interesting. Because you know full goddamn well that if Astrid's supposed to be 5'3", and they hired to cast a girl who was 5'4.5", that's a significant change, but nobody would.
That makes no sense at all. If you're casting, you're talking about an animated woman, right, who's meant to be those dimensions. But his argument here is, well, if you cast somebody who's an inch taller, it's going to be. No one's going to get into an outrage about that. So that's where his argument falls flat on that point.
Would have said anything, right? They wouldn't have said a thing. If Astrid is supposed to have hazel brown eyes, but they cast an actress who had walnut brown eyes.
I wonder how long John took to think about these points, because so far they are crashing and burning like a Friday night out with some of my work colleagues.
Change. But full goddamn well, they wouldn't have complained about it.
All that blasphemy, John. Goddamn this, goddamn that, wowee.
Wouldn't have said a thing. Would have been perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that change. If in the movie, Astrid was supposed to be right-handed, and they had the audacity.
This makes no sense. What's he talking about? And let me guess, left-handed comes up.
To hire an actress who was right-handed. Well, that's a change. And by the way, Astrid, who comes from a complete mythological, fairy tale, non-existent, completely made up in fiction race of people and Vikings that don't really exist.
So remember the whole talk about Lord of the Rings, where J.R.R. Tolkien set those characters against a Celtic and Nordic narrative from what he was influenced by? And now John is like, yeah, but you got this made-up Viking mythology that doesn't really exist because... Do you know what I mean? It's this argument that he's making is going nowhere, in my opinion.
Pigmentation of her skin.
And by the way, this actually gets better and better. Trust me, I've seen a clip of this online. It's absolutely hysterical.
It's a little bit darker than what Astrid's is in the cartoon. Height, not a problem. Eye color, not a problem. Hand, not a problem. Change.
Hey, John, how about this? Just get to the effing point, because this guy rambles, he meanders till he gets to the point, and by this time you're looking at your watch, you're thinking, you know what? I could have been having a shag right now.
And I want to say this. Please get the fuck off my channel, you mouth-breathing, basement-dwelling, cousin humping motherfuckers. Just get off my channel. Don't come to my channel. I am on a personal mission. I want to purge 30,000 of my subscribers off my channel within the next 48 hours. And I would like them to be you, because with the number of comments of people saying such idiotic, moronic things, I figure there's got to be at least 30,000 of you knuckle draggers around there. So please just leave my channel. Don't come back.
John, I've got news for you. I left your channel ages ago.
Don't watch my stuff.
I don't, because it's dog shit now.
I want to purge 30,000 things. Do me a favor, you racist pieces of shit, and
I guess that means me then as well. Okay, fair enough.
go and find one of your echo chamber websites where you can all stand around and jerk each other off while you tilt your head backs and go, woke, woke. And then you can come on each other's faces and tell each other that, come on.
That's an interesting image that John Campier's brought up there. I mean, this is the same guy who studied the outline of Tobey Maguire's junk for Spider-Man No Way Home because he tried to make an analysis about where the angle of the light was bouncing off Tobey Maguire's junk. It's so weird. And then now he's obsessed with this thing about men who dwell in basements and, I don't know, man juicing each other's faces.
On your face cleanses you of wokeness. Yeah, tell yourselves that. Whatever is going to get you off and make you feel good about yourself. Just don't come around here.
So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right? So, you know, I'm in heaven.
Nobody complains about the height of Hugh Jackman. Nobody complains about the physical differences between my beloved Henry Cavill and what he looked like in the comics versus what he looked like in the movies.
Your beloved Henry Cavill. So Henry Cavill's probably one of the most based cis white men out there who probably wouldn't agree with half the points that John Campier's pointed out. Oh, my Henry Cavill. Oh, John, are you in love with Henry Cavill? Good grief. It's so bad. And the thing about Hugh Jackman playing a Wolverine, who's obviously shorter in the comics, some people did make a comment about that, but after how we saw how great Jackman was as Logan, nobody had a problem with it. But you can't compare Hugh Jackman's casting, an Australian, playing a Canadian mutant. No one's complained about that. You can't compare that to this casting of a live-action film. I repeat, nobody asked for.
No, because those changes aren't a problem. The changes are only a problem.
Evil eye, evil eye.
If the girl's skin color is a little bit different. Yeah, so just, you know, go away. Believe me, I've been doing this. I'm coming up on my 20th anniversary. I'm perfectly good. I can retire tomorrow. It doesn't matter.
Well, why don't you retire, John, and do us all a fucking favor?
Just still do this job because I think it's fun. That's all. But you really need to go find an echo chamber where you and your illiterate brood can just gather around and just, like I said, do a big circle jerk with each other. Yeah, that's all my thoughts for tonight. Thanks for joining me, guys.
He's obsessed with Tobey Maguire's junk and circle jerking. Holy shit, man. So you never knew about this video before. Well, unfortunately, you know about it now. So guys, that has been my video for today. It's going to be my last one for a while, I'm afraid. So I don't know when I'm going to return to this platform. In terms of this channel, I have no idea what's really going on anymore because, again, like I said at the beginning, I've made videos and I get diminishing returns for my efforts. And, you know, there are other people out there who do this stuff way better than me. They've been established a way longer time than me. So, honestly, I feel like an impersonator, an imposter. And again, YouTube is about inclusivity. It's about diversity. And yet, people like me, just because we have a difference of opinion that YouTube doesn't like, oh, they're going to make sure I get completely shadow banned. And you know what, YouTube? And I can't say Susan Wojcicki anymore. It's the other bloke that's replaced her, and he's just as bad. And by golly, if I was Elliot from Mr. Robot, I would love to do some digging up on that guy and see if he goes to any Doughboy domains out there. If you've seen the first episode of Mr. Robot, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, folks, with a heavy heart, I will say this much. If you enjoyed this video today, make sure you like the hell out of it. Make sure you share it everywhere. Make sure you tell your friends and neighbors about me. And if they're interested in subscribing to me and see more videos like this in the future from yours truly, well, all I've got to say is this. If you were me, and if I were you, you may want to come back for the next video, whenever that is going to be uploaded.